Greetings, Duelists, and welcome to another video. So, one of the cards that got released in the TCG Forbidden Unlimited list is Redox, the Dragon Ruler of Boulders, meaning that this is our third Dragon Ruler that is TCG legal. And I kind of wanted to talk about if there is a possibility or an inkling of hope for Dragon Rulers as a strategy, because Dragunity Rulers is my favorite deck of all time. What you're looking at in the screen right now is the list from 2013. Very similar to what I used to pilot back then. And whenever I find a chance to have a deck similar to this one, I'm always going to try to experiment with it because, yeah, even though we cannot have a very relative result to what was back then in 2013, we have enough tools in the game to make the dragon strategy just be adaptive and be able to perform into the current format. So what we're going to do is dissect the list from back then and see what can be possible right now with the cards that we have, and how was I able to like adapt the concept to what we currently have in the TCG. So in the 2013 list, we have 3 Blasters, 3 Redox, and 3 Tempest. As you can see in the screen, Redox is about to be limited, but Blaster and Tempest are still also limited. Uh, Pretty much what this means is we won't have a surplus of Dragon Rulers to be used as fodder for the other rulers in order to like keep tutoring and keep like gaining like recursion and advantage between all of them. The other thing that you see here are the 3 Ducks, 2 Phalanx, and the 1 Mistletoe. You will see later in the deck I'm about to show. Uh, but I think this engine has been power crept. Like outside of Mistletoe, I think like these two other Dragonities are not going to be played like at all. Like there are a lot of cute tricks and like plays that you can do with them that can surplus you a flurry amount of monsters. However, I think that in order to be adaptive to the current state of the game, you just want other tools that do not take up your normal summon. They do not take like your summons at all. Like, and you want ways to fight through boards with like the resources that you have. We also see Maxi as our only monster hand trap. Maxi is forbidden, and I don't think that's ever going to change, at least and not anytime soon. So now we have to think of the factor of what hand traps do we play, or if we even play any hand traps at all. You'll see like there are 10 trap cards. Like we're pretty much at a point where you have a lot of utility with monsters that can just serve as your interruptions, so you no longer like really need spell the trap cards like in the day, like as if it was like back in the day. Like right after 2014, that's when you start seeing like decks and archetypes just adapt to the game with their engine and not relying on like staple cards like we had back then, like the one Compulse and the one Sullen Warning. If we look at the spell cards, we see triple terraforming. This card is limited and it's gonna stay limited. We have the one Gold Sark that is currently limited. We have the 3 Sacred Swords of 7 stars. I don't think Sacred Sword is viable in this strategy as long as every ruler is at 1. If the rulers were at more than 1 copy, then I could see myself like warrant the use of Sacred Sword. We also have Cards of Consonance. The only real target is Phalanx, and Phalanx is usually searchable by Ravine or Tempest. So, is I think there are way better tools that we can use just to like keep tutoring into our deck, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Curse of Consonance. We have the Ron Red Ice Darkness Metal Dragon. This is a lot better now in the TCG than it was back then, and you will see later why. And then you have like the extra deck. Uh, Pretty much back in the day, you would use ducks to tutor yourself into Phalanx, to tutor yourself into Virajana. Uh, Now we no longer need Virajana anymore. We're going to be looping Gaydark instead, as you will see like in a moment. We also have a bunch of other synchros. Crimson Blader. This monster has been power crept. We're pretty much at a format where not every deck in the game just wins with high level monsters. Although ironically, like Rescue Ace is like and Labyrinth are two example of decks that probably would get punished by this card if it ends up like resolving its effect. You also have Colossal Fighter. You no longer need this card. Yeah, and you have like other cards like Thought Ruler, Stardust, and Scrap Dragon, and then you have a few of the XYCs like Dracosack. Um, like back then, sitting on Dracosack plus a few of your trap cards was like the most defensive play you could do back then. Right now, we have just like way better tools than Dracosack. So now that we spoke about Dragunity Rulers, let's talk about um, the changes that I made just to adapt to 2024. This is my current list, and as you can see, there is a very significant difference from what you saw at the 2013 list. Like, the more defensive cards that we're playing are like Talents and Droplets. Gold Sark still remained in the deck, same as Terraforming. Those two cards are just way too good to be played in this strategy. You also see the Blaster, the Root, the Tempest, and the Redox. Back then, on 2013, like at least when the Dragonity Ruler build was being played, Konami just banned all the baby rulers. Now we do have them all unlimited. However, out of all of these, the one that is the most valuable, I would say, is Lightning, because Lightning gets you to Tempest, and Tempest is a monster that pretty much is going to grab us the best attribute of dragons that we can out of every ruler. You see that the Ducks and Phalanx got replaced by Remus and Legatus. These are pretty much the Dragonies you're going to be using now instead of them. Yeah, this does not take your normal summon. This ends up summoning Gaydark, and Gaydark can get you to Crystal Wing if you just end up dumping like the Mist Valley Baby Rock as part of your combo. So that is really really strong, and like if it ends up resolving, you just get a lot of card advantage. The other thing you see in this deck is the Black Metal Dragon. This is what I meant by the Darkness Metal being like way more relevant now than it was in the past. Basically, now you can link away this into Striker Dragon or Pisty. That will get you to the Metal Dragon, and then Metal Dragon can just banish like the Tempest or the Link 1, and then bring back the black metal. The black metal can link itself into the other link one, and then it can grab the red ice black meteor dragon. Or you can just link them away for heretic seals, and then just use the meteor dragon outright. Another thing we see in this deck is the Dragonmaids. So the Dragonmaids debuted way after the rulers already got banned. However, each Dragon Maid monster has a specific attribute, And as you can see here, we have one for earths, we have one for winds, we have one for fires. So, and at the instance of any ruler getting banished, any dragon ruler can grab you any dragon maid, and they all have very like good effects that can just be good for resources. The best one being Parter Dragon Maid. The reason Parter Dragon Maid is the best one is because it plays around Droll and Lockbird. It can even put an Omni Negate on board before you get drolled or Nibirued. Um so outside of that, I guess there's Noctovision, which got printed way later. There's also Black Wings of Rose the Elite. Uh, I used to play a build that played the three of this back then, which it which was pretty helpful because it pretty much meant that you just go Zephyros to bounce back Ravine, and then you like dump the phalanx that you would add out of the ravine, and then that sets you up for Vajrayana. However, here is a lot more different. Instead, what you're going to be using is just Sephiroth as a stepping stone to summon your Romulus, or just to summon like other monsters. Out of the spell cards that you see right here, one spell card that I am experimenting with, like just as a theory, but I haven't come to any conclusions yet because I haven't drawn the card or been put into a scenario where this card resolves. But essentially, Super Rejuvenation is mainly here because you have one, two, three, four, five, at least five different ways for you to like discard, and you probably have enough ways that are considered when you are tribute summoning or tributing like as a whole. So depending on the situation or depending on how many cards that you wasted as your resources, the super rejuvenation can just recoup you back into those resources. And this deck is incredibly good at creating follow up. The Dragon Maid monsters themselves, like, it's just really strong recursion, as well as like a good level of like cohesiveness with the Dragon Maid Shoe, which is like your Omni Negate. So just having a card that can just like give you resources back with your engine while also replaying like regaining a lot of card advantage is really strong in theory, because essentially this deck, if you fill up the graveyard, it's just going to become like a second deck. You see a max amount of copies of World Legacy Guard Dragon. You can make the argument of making Ib like part of this equation. A lot of people are being experimenting with Ib as part of plays for like Dragon Link decks. However, having Remus lock you into dragons from the extra deck, as well like not having many ways to summon Ib like as a whole, just pretty much warrants just you playing this card and not playing anything else. This essentially is like a reborn, and it's not only just a reborn spell, but it also moves the position for Pisty in order to fulfill its effect. Like the World Legacy Guard Dragon mixed with like black metal or like part of the Dragon Maid is already really strong as a concept. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this list. I so before I show you a replay and show you like uh what can be perceived as like your potential with the Dragon Rulers, I kind of wanted to show something else first. This is the last iteration I did with Dragon Maids, or like with dragons in general, outside of like a few explanations involving one deck profile that you will see later in this week. So, what is the problem with Dragon Rulers? So, the issue with Dragon Rulers right now is that we have a way better engine for dragons as a whole that does not synergize with them. And that engine is the Bystials. The Bestial monsters are very, very, very strong. And I feel like for the amount of recursion and the amount of power that you're trying to make with the dragon rulers, you're just going to benefit way more from using the bestials. Like not like for example, like Manamut is like a dragon ruler in its own. Like it requires lesser resources to make. It has slightly higher attack than some of them, or like pretty much most of them, like half of them rather. And it is essentially a +1 during the end phase. You also have Lobelion that can tutor you into Brander Regained, and Brander Regained is just a really strong card that just like uh, tutors your resources. You also have Chaos Space. You also have like other tools like the Boral and Dragon itself. Yeah, multiple copies of the Heretic Seal, just to name like a few examples. So it's not to say that the rulers don't have a place where they belong. It's mainly that it's no longer going to be like the best engine for dragons, even if they were at more than limited status. Now, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna be showing you like a few plays that can be done with the deck, and like just show you how far we can get with the rulers, because even though bestials are like a very very important part of the game when it comes to dragons in general, even though we also have Dragon Link as a strategy, it does not take apart like the fact that there are a lot of ways to play dragons in general. And I feel like if you want to experiment with dragon rulers, sadly you won't be able to mimic exactly everything you did with the Dragonity Ruler deck in 2013. However, mixing it up with Dragonmaids is pretty much like the closest thing that you'll get, like when it comes to that. And there's no like real way to like go against it. It pretty much can be helped, but like as you can see in the screen, like Dragonmaids as a concept is really, really, really strong. I think this is an underappreciated archetype in a meta game where just having good resources for the next turn is very, very, very important. But yeah, that's pretty much it when it comes to like rulers in general. I feel like it's not that they don't have a place in the metagame. It's more so that they pretty much have been power crept, and it pretty much took Konami a long, long time to like even unban or like justify having multiples of them like be back in the metagame. 2013 is pretty much like 11 years from now. uh, and yeah, quite a lot happens in this game, like that doesn't warrant like what was done back then. But yeah, that's about it. I hope you found this video informative. I hope you found it to your liking and understanding. uh, I'd say just experiment with the dragon rulers. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with them, and this is the closest I think I'll ever get to like my favorite deck of all time. We'll see what things can do we discover next? I say that this current Forbidden Limited list is going to spark a lot of creativity to a lot of players. Not to say that it was already sparked to a couple of players already, but there are some like themes like that are underlooked, like this one, which is going to be even more fun than not for nostalgic players. All right. Until next video, keep practicing and keep doing.